enjoying something new, something live, something so fresh and so clean. I'm in the studios, and the Dope and Dharma guy is out and about across the nation. One is over in the other part of the country, and another in another part of the country. What's up, fellas?
What's going
What's
on,
up, man? What is it? You just making up stuff now?
Yeah. It's a habit. I just get in the flow of things and just go.
Hey, man. What's happening, brother? How you doing? Good to see
Man,
you.
I can't complain.
Well, I
I can
can't
see you, but
you.
you can't see me.
Well, that's why you gotta look, Trinity. You gotta send him a link so we can get him on his cell phone as well, so we can see him. It's not fair that we can't see him.
I'm gonna send you a link right now.
Yeah, he's gonna send you a link. Device is not connected.
Oh boy.
So we might, Trinity, you and I might be on, but and we're on with our people, but I don't know if we're on WOKB. But anyway, welcome to WOKB. This is the Couch Live here with you. Been on for the last 23 years? It's 23 years and counting. We're here on WOKB 1680 AM in Orlando, while Trinity, who knows what city he's in. No, you're in Orlando, Trinity, and I'm down in Boca Raton right now. I'm in Boca. I'm picking up my daughter from FAU.
Yeah. I think we're also on 100.7, right?
100.7 FM.
100.7 FM.
There you go.
And pretty soon we'll be able to see Shaw, because Trinity's going to send you a link, Shaw.
I already
so you
did.
can get on your phone. Okay, good. So you can click that one on from your phone, Shaw, so we can at least see your face. I want to see that pretty mug of you. But anyway, while he's doing that, I'll introduce myself and I'll introduce my partner for the last 10 years. I am street certified dope Dr. Louis Delgado here with you. And this is a show focused on addiction and recovery and all things in between. Of course, family issues, family matters. We talk about all that kind of stuff. And of course, my partner for the last 10 years, we're on the 11th year now, is the Dharma guy, Trinity Phillips. What's up, brother?
What's up? What's up?
How you doing?
I am doing well. How about yourself?
You said you were fibrillating a little bit heavy today?
No, I don't know what was going on. It just felt odd earlier, but that's okay.
Felt on a little early? All right. We don't want you dying. And there's Shaw.
There's Shaw. What's going on, brother?
Shaw.
Hey,
what's going on, brother? How you doing? There
hey,
you go.
What's up?
See, we figured it out.
That's right. We got this.
That's right. So I wanted to, first of all, we're debuting this new platform for us, just to kind of, we stole it from the show before us.
We did.
We were using Ecamm, and I don't know how many times, Trinity, I told you Ecamm sucks. Ecamm sucks. I couldn't stand it. Well, I'm just so used to regular radio stations, and then from radio stations used to streaming through the radio stations, right? And then we get COVID, and we stay home for a couple years, and when we get back to the radio station, our streaming was all messed up using that system that we were using for 2 years. So even though it did all right for the way we were doing it, I didn't like it. And so Marissa, I agree with you. Ecamm does suck, and So we're done with Ecamm. We got StreamYard. The little duck is now in our ears.
That's right.
Hopefully we'll do this better. So we're ready now.
Right.
So
you made it quite clear that you hated Ecamm. So
I like to tell you how I feel.
I know you're happy.
I think it's important, Trinity, to be. This is an honest program.
That's
so
right.
I think it's important to always be honest. I think it's always important to tell everybody how you feel for real. How else do you get better, Trinity? You want me to hold it in and just be resentful and just have resentment and anger and frustration? You know what might happen if I have resentment and anger and frustration, Trinity?
No, but I think you're going to tell me.
Well, I might run a car off the road.
You do that anyways.
I might kick my new little puppy. Anyway. I don't want.
You're still that old dude. Instead of get off my lawn, it's like get out of my lane.
You should look. I'm always in the middle lane and the slow lane now. I chill. And so if you're in the middle lane and still going slow, you need to move.
See, there comes the truth.
I'm kidding. Okay. So we're talking about that's right. That's right.
It's just a slow lane, and we just
I'm
telling you. Exactly.
I'm constantly moving for people, man, because I'm not looking to speed. I'm not looking for a speeding ticket, man. My days of getting tickets are over.
Yeah, I know, speeding tickets suck.
So I like chilling.
They send you through. They send you through too much. You go through too much when you get a ticket. I got my last ticket like years ago, and I stopped doing. I pay attention.
Yeah, it's better than paying them.
Right.
Either you pay them or you pay attention. One or the other. You're going to pay somebody. But anyway, welcome to Couch Live, everybody. Let's talk about this. I'm talking about multiple pathways to recovery today, Trinity. Multiple pathways.
That's what I've seen. Yes.
Well, and the reason is because I'm still hearing people that just struggle with the idea that anybody else wants to do it differently than them.
Right.
Just frustrated with it. I mean, there's people that really get really upset that somebody wants to try to get better in a way that's different than the way they got better. And
right.
I mean, I want to say I used to be one of those guys, but I never really was. You know what I mean? I mean, I might have been hesitant about certain pathways. That's kind of normal, right? I kind of was
Makes
judgmental about several pathways. But I mean, I to poo-poo on somebody else's methods,
right?
It's just, I just don't see the productivity in it. What is Marissa saying right there? Can you put that up there so we can read it?
She said, let me put it up on the screen. She said,
there you go.
I can't say what I want to do slow walking people or I'll get banned by Zuckerberg's LOL. They can get off my sidewalk.
Marissa, not this week. Not this week.
Right.
No more.
She said, I think MAT, M-A-T, medical assisted treatment,
yeah,
gets the biggest bad rep of all of them.
So let's start with that. Let's start with MAT, medication assisted treatment, or medical assisted treatment, however you wish to use it. But the issue with that, Trinity, is that some people, some purists, right, are focused on, if you're getting off of something, you should never get onto something to get off of something. That's kind of the ease of it, right? And so
I think that makes sense to the untrained ear, by the way.
Right.
Like, I don't think that's an unreasonable thought to have in your head.
It's not, and that's why I said it like that, because that's the way it's usually said. It's like, you don't trade addictions. If you want to be clean, you just get off of everything. You don't need drugs to because then you're really not clean. I used to hear this all the time. And let me tell you, man, back in the 80s, when all the cocaine addicts like myself were coming into recovery, there were people that were saying that you shouldn't take antidepressants. Now, let me give you a little bit of historical knowledge. When you get off of cocaine shrinks your amygdala down. All right. So there's a lot of pleasure that you feel when your amygdala is working correctly. But when it's not working correctly, when it's shrunken up, it's hard to just feel normal pleasure. It's hard to feel good about anything. And so there were a lot of people coming in feeling depressed. Imagine, listening to your favorite song, on the radio. You don't turn it down, you turn it up, right? Well, then the next song, let's say you like it better, and then turn down the dial.
Right.
So listen to a crappy song like a Justin Bieber song really high, and then put on a really cool. What did you do? You changed the view, and then put it on a really cool. You're just playing around.
That's not me. That's
Saul's playing around.
I'm sorry, that's me.
See, that's what you get when you give him power and control. Man.
See.
So and then you listen to a good song, and then you turn it down. It frustrates your ears, and so when people were doing cocaine, right, and they wanted to get off, they found themselves struggling with just being okay with, like, petting the puppy. Petting the puppy didn't feel good anymore. Playing with your kids didn't feel good anymore. Just walking, you definitely want petting the puppy.
Petting puppies is awesome, dude. That's like one of the
right.
That's not cool. So
when people went to the psychiatrist and to their therapist, they found out, well, you're in depression. You have major depression. So what's the one of the things that people do with people in depression? They want to put them on antidepressants. So Prozac was a big deal, right? We all remember the days where Prozac was killing it. Yeah, but there was a time where it was really killing it, right?
Right.
Bad choice of words, but when it was really doing really well. So then, so Prozac got real big. People were taking antidepressants, and then they found that, or they were being told sometimes that they were cheating, that they weren't allowing themselves to go through the emotions and the feelings, that they were supposed to feel that depression, and were supposed to feel bad about things sometimes, that's just part of the process, and that they by taking antidepressants, they were cheating their recovery. And so there were a lot of people that were afraid to take antidepressants. There were therapists that would not counsel. I mean, I even had one at Quest Counseling. When I used to own Quest Counseling, I had a counselor that her particular group, she requested that she not have anybody with antidepressants in her group. So when I bought Quest Counseling, I went ahead and gave her that group, let her go off on her own, and got, I don't want to say got rid of her, but I got rid of her. And
Sure.
then let her go build her own business, because I didn't want to have that. I just thought it was wrong to tell people they could not take an antidepressant if a psychiatrist was prescribing them. Now, who are we to say, right? But to be told that you're not clean, or you're cheating, or you're doing something wrong by taking antidepressant, I just thought that was medical malpractice, even by non-medical people. And so that was the problem I had. So that is my first introduction to people being told that medication-assisted treatment is wrong. And then, we already knew that methadone was out there, but we really didn't call it medication-assisted treatment.
Right.
So then we look at opioid dependence, Trinity. And the history of that is that methadone was supposedly successful for what it was intended to do, which was get people from the street to a more, I don't know, I guess, a place where you could find them, a place where you knew they were going to be every day. Something cleaner than street drugs. It was a little bit more predictable of what you're taking rather than street drugs. A different method of using it. You're not shooting up methadone. You're ingesting it in a liquid form or pill form. And so for what they wanted, it was successful. Now, there's a lot of people out there, Trinity, I don't have to love methadone. I don't have to like methadone. I don't have to be a believer in big methadone or any methadone. But who are we to judge, Trinity, if somebody got their life back? What if their goal was only, I just want to be able to go to work and not shoot dope? And by taking methadone, they're able to go to work and not shoot dope. I mean, who are we to say that they're not in recovery then?
No, I agree. I mean, I don't think the mainstream agrees with that, but I agree.
Right.
Marissa made a comment too. She said, sometimes you have to take one step down at a time from something heavy you're on, because cold turkey can kill you after certain drugs. And I used to be one of the purists, as long as they're monitored, so addiction or dependence doesn't happen untreated again with the new drug introduced. And then she said, followed up with, the only thing I'm still not sold on is the safe, in quotations, injection facilities. But I don't think safe injection facilities would be included in recovery. I think that's a harm reduction, I believe.
Yeah, that's a conversation for another day. But yeah, I agree with that. That's some good points right there, Marissa. So then buprenorphine products came into play, and if you don't know what a buprenorphine product is, it's for opioid dependence treatment, and we're talking about Suboxone, Subutex, Zubsolv, those. Now we even have an implant and injection form of that. But the buprenorphine, just to give you some understanding, so dope or heroin, street heroin, or even legal heroin like opioids, like oxys and Percocets, Percodans, things like that, all of those are what we would call agonists. What's an agonist? Now, I don't want to go too far into this, because this is not supposed to be, Bill Nye, the science guy stuff,
Wow.
But this is supposed to be a relatively casual understanding of what's going on, so we can help each other, kind of thing. So agonist means it activates whatever receptor it goes to and makes it do what that receptor is supposed to do. So when we're talking about an opioid agonist, it makes the opiate receptor act up. Now, what's an opiate receptor for? Well, you have natural opioids. I got natural opioids. We all got dope in our body. Some of us, like me, have a little bit more than others. That's why I'm the dope doctor. I was kidding. But we all have, endorphins and kephalins, things like that running through our system. And that's why if you hate yourself, it doesn't really hurt that much. Or that's why you feel some joy. You feel some, your body takes care of you in different ways that you don't need to worry about. So anyway, we have these opiate receptor sites. And the agonists out there go to those same receptor sites and just hits it a little bit harder than what we would call an endogenous opioid. An endogenous opioid is what you have naturally. Exogenous opioids are from outside the body. So you go take street dope, or you take a pain pill, that's an exogenous opioid you're putting in an opiate receptor that's made for your endogenous opioids, your natural opioids. And so it messes up that receptor. Right. So what methadone does is it goes to that receptor, but it's still an agonist. Then the buprenorphine products came out, the Suboxone, Subutex, and all those. And those are partial agonists. So they're not full agonists. They're not all the way agonists like heroin or pain pills, but they're partial agonists, meaning they still create that agonist activity. That's still that dopamine rush that allows us to feel less pain, right? Because you get that little spark in your brain, right? And you feel less pain, and you feel less care. But there's still activity. And those are the things that become addicting. You know, that dopamine rush, that dopamine stimulation. Now, we're here in 2022, and for the last 10 years, we've had, at least 10 years, we've had Vivitrol, which is naltrexone, which is not the oral naltrexone like Rivia, but it's an injectable form of naltrexone. That's also in the medication-assisted treatment family. And that particular drug medication also goes to the receptors, but it's an antagonist. Antagonist, meaning does not have any agonist activity. It's not addicting, non-dependent. When you get off it, there's no withdrawal like with the others. There's withdrawal still with the others. That's why many people stay on those forever many times. And then they get told that they're not in recovery because they're staying on it forever or too long in some people's opinion. But some people feel that once dependent, you should always be dependent.
Right.
I'm not a big lover of that methodology, which is why I like Vivitrol, because I don't think someone that's been dependent for a couple of years, 2 to 5 years, should be subject to stay dependent for the rest of their life. It's bad enough you're being told you have addiction for the rest of your life, but why should I be dependent on a medication for the rest of my life? I don't think that's for everybody. If that's for you out there and that's the way you're recovering, that's on you. That's cool. I'll support you either way. Look, if your goal was simply to go back to work, or if your goal was simply not to shoot dope, then that's your level of success. We talk about it on Dharma Time, right? It really depends on your perspective of what you're trying to achieve. But I think what happens in recovery is that typically someone like myself, that I would consider myself an old timer, right? We're talking about 33 years. Typically I go, well, I didn't take any medication when I got sober, or I went to meetings and that worked for me. And if you do what I did, then you'll get it. You know, we tend to be a little bit too bossy to this younger generation and tell them, well, if you're not doing it my way or the way I did it, then you're doing it wrong. And I just can't do that, Trinity. I don't like it. And so I wanted somebody to make sure to speak out here, somebody with 33 years. So none of you jacks out there that are old timers as well can go, well, that Louis, what does he know? 33 years, motherfucker. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Is that what they all sound like, by the way?
That was WOKB. I apologize on that one, WOKB. I forgot that we're on radio.
Yeah, we on radio. Yeah, you're on all 3 platforms.
Yeah, I forgot. My apologies. They'll send the hate mail directly to me. But the point is that 33 years, you can't tell me I don't know my recovery, because I've done it all those different ways other than the medication ways. And then I've treated people. So for the last, 30 something years, I am an addictions professional that I've treated people for all of that time period. So I think it takes someone with some gray hairs and some experience to come out and say, look, if you're out there and you're being told that medication-assisted treatment is the way for you, or if you're doing recovery your type of way with some help and support, and it's working for you to the goals that you have set out, then that's good enough. Now, if it doesn't work, come back to the drawing board. Let's try something else. But if it's working, then who's to say? And that's the point. That's why I wanted to talk about it today, because I'm tired of the people. And and by the way, Trinity, when I started getting real vocal about this. And I'm going to say the name of this young man. You know
the
exactly
first thing
what
that
I'm
popped in my head.
Connor Policastro. And I'm going to say his name because I will forever remember you, Connor Policastro. And Connor Policastro was a guy that we helped get clean and sober years and years ago. And at 6 months clean, he called me up crying that he was being told, and he was going to meetings, by the way. He was going to Narcotics Anonymous meetings. He was going to meetings every day. He was chairing a meeting, and they kept telling him that he's not clean. And look, by the way, Narcotics Anonymous doesn't think that, so don't think that by me saying that, that's not their stance. They have no opinions on outside issues, and medication being one of them. But the rooms are full of people, right? Even though the rooms have no opinions on outside issues, guess what people do? And the rooms are full of people. And those people sometimes open their big fat mouths and say things to people like Connor And so he went and threw away his buprenorphine, threw away his Suboxone.
Right.
And he called me up crying, saying that he's going to do it without. Now, mind you, if you don't know anything about these agonists and partial agonists, when you get off them, you're going to go through withdrawals. Worse withdrawals than with just plain old dope. The stuff that we make is a lot sticky, ickier, Trinity, on the receptors.
Right.
So you go through withdrawals a lot more on the medications like buprenorphines or methadone, especially methadone, than off of street heroin. All right. So I was like, Connor, you don't do that, man. Don't do that. That's not a good plan. Why don't we come see the doctor, come see me, come see the doctor tomorrow morning. We'll straighten this out. But I'm sorry that people are talking to you like that. But you got 6 months, bro. You got 6 months clean. Oh, we're hearing reverb. You got 6 months clean. That was 8 something at night. I think I used to remember the exact time. I think it was 8:06. I think is what I've said for all these years. 8:06. And then in the morning, Connor didn't come. And then I think it was around noon or 1 o'clock, New York time in Eastern time, which is Florida time. Connor's mom called me and says, have you heard from him, seen him? I'm worried about him. I said, no. And I told her about the phone call. And I said, I'm worried about him too. I said, why don't you do a wellness check? Get them to go out to his place. Because Connor was a young kid that his dad had passed away. And Connor started raising his younger brother. But unfortunately, the way he dealt with his trauma was he started getting high, and it led to a heroin problem, and for him and his younger brother. And so in order to be a shining mentor for his younger brother, he quit, went to treatment. So his brother quit and went to treatment. And then Connor went into school, and he was in film school, broadcasting and film school. And he was doing great, living in Florida, getting better, 6 months clean. The wellness check had turned out that Connor had died of an overdose, but not from the Suboxone that he was prescribed and the Suboxone that he had been taking for 6 months. No. But somehow, somewhere in the night, with all those tears and all that sadness and all that feeling shame and like he had been cheating, and instead of using the Suboxone because he had thrown it away, apparently he found something a lot easier to find when you're feeling like that. And it was heroin. And unfortunately, he shot too much of that up, and he died. So from that point forward, whenever I talk about this, I think about Connor, and I think about everybody needs to shut up and stop telling somebody else that they're not in recovery, because it's not your recovery. It's not yours. You got yours, and I'm glad you're happy with yours, and I'm glad it's working for you, and that's fantastic, man. I'm not saying anything about that. It's fantastic that whatever you're doing for you is working for you. But you got to leave the Connors of the world alone. Now, if they come to you and they say, hey, how do you feel about this? And you feel some certain type of way, you should know better. If you're in recovery, you should know better. You should know how sensitive a person is in early recovery. You should know how easy it is to hurt them. And you should know that they want to please you, the old timer. They want to please you, the person with some time. Because they're looking up to you. They're looking up to us. And if we tell them they're cheating or they're not doing it right, they're doing it wrong, just keep your mouth shut, man. If you don't feel comfortable telling them the right way, and you can't love them where they're at, and you can't help them get a better understanding of that, then maybe you need to just direct them to somebody like Trinity and myself. Let us talk to them, because you're clearly not the one that should be talking to them. And so that's why I wanted to talk about this thing.
Yeah, I mean, I got quiet there just because I was letting you put it out there. But yeah, I mean, I still have my text messages from Connor. Sounds kind of weird, maybe, but I can't. I can't bring myself to delete them for some reason. He was one of the first ones that I experienced a death with, because I was early on in my my entry into this world, I guess. And I had a soft spot for him because he reminded me of myself a lot with some of the issues he was having. And I felt really good about it, man. He was coming to my weekend stuff when we were talking about spirituality and stuff. And then one day he just stopped showing up. And I figured something was going on. I didn't know. And then that's when you told me he reached out to you. And I was like, okay, well, he's going to get some help. And then, then he didn't. And I agree with you. I think that part of the issue we're experiencing at the moment is, I do think that the mainstream, like the media and things of that nature, they put this thing out there as this one for all, like, every movie you watch, every TV show you watch, when they glamorize addiction, that's kind of what the go-to is oh, go to rehab, like that. Everybody just goes to rehab and magically gets better and comes out,
Right.
Except for some don't, and then they relapse or whatever, but they don't talk about what recovery actually looks like. And I think they're doing a major disservice to this community, because, like, if it wasn't for me being in this niche, I would have no clue what that actually looks like.
Right.
The meetings, like the 90 and 90, or I don't know, they don't bring that to the mainstream at all. Like, people just don't talk about it, they don't publicize it. And so I think that does lead to a lot of harsh criticism and harsh judgment from people who might not be in recovery, which can add, as we found out with Connor, even though those people were in theory in recovery with him, it can add to depression. It can add to the problems, because they criticize and say, well, you're not really in recovery. Like, yeah, he is. And so I think that the community needs to do a better job of showing what recovery looks like and showing all the different faces of it and what it means, because I do believe the average everyday person doesn't understand taking Suboxone or taking something like that. And to an extent, they don't need to, right? Like, if you're not in recovery yourself or you're not part of the family, you don't really need to. But you kind of do. You know what I mean? Like, you kind of have a basic understanding so we can help support those people and understand how not to criticize them and judge them and make them feel horrible. In this day and time of everything's wokeness, what I don't see is a lot of wokeness to help the addiction community. I don't see a lot of that. There's a lot of people standing up for a lot of other communities, which, let me finish this point.
All right.
Because it is irritating to me. There's communities out there that statistically are much, much smaller that are getting so much more play. 28 million, was it, families are affected by addiction. Like, that's a huge number. And as far as percentage, as far as how that branches out, it's a very large percentage of people who are affected by this. And yet the woke nation doesn't seem to be going that direction. But I'll get off my soapbox. Shaw, you were saying something?
Yeah, but whose job is it to judge whether somebody's in recovery or not? Whose fault is it? I mean,
it's my job, because it's either my job, your personal therapist job, or you're a physician, not the regular old person on the street, friend, or person in a meeting. It's not their job.
Correct.
And I answer it that way, Shaw, because if you come to me and you pay me to help you, then you're asking me, do I have a problem? And I'm helping diagnose you. That's my job. That's not their job out there to do. And what they did is they got in the way of the work that we were doing with Connor, me and the physician. We were working with Connor. We had him. He had 6 months clean, man. You know what I mean? We didn't need any outside, wannabe doctors and wannabe therapists to be messing with him. But that's what we got.
So Marissa just commented too. And she said, my brother saw older addicts in recovery still taking meds like methadone, and he said he didn't want to use that for the rest of his life. So he started to detox himself off of it, and we told him to speak to the counselor first and stay on it longer or do it safely with them. I'm convinced trying to wean himself off led to or at least contributed to his suicide.
Right. Thank you for sharing that, Marissa. I want to do next week's show on self-medicating, because she brought up something good. So we'll talk about self-medicating, what that really means, and what is self-medicating, and because that is a problem,
Yes.
But we'll talk about that next week. But yeah, Shaw, I'm glad you said who is it to judge? And you're right, man. My issue with this is that many different things actually, but one major thing is that we get stuck in certain ideologies, right? For whatever reason. Like, so there's the people that, and all of them are to blame, right? The medication assisted treatment people fight with the faith-based people, fight with the 12-step people, and all that. It's just like this. It can be a big old mess. But there's a saying that I think we all kind of feel comfortable with, and that's attraction rather than promotion, right? But for generations and generations, I was told to stay silent. I was told to stay quiet. I was told to stay anonymous. And look, if you're out there and you want to stay anonymous and you want to stick to that, that's fine. But I didn't want to stay anonymous. And that's why 23 years ago, I started this program. I started this program 23 years ago because I felt like my issue was when I finally went to the rooms and when I finally saw people that were, were doing what I wanted to do, and could help me. It's like I had to go find them. I had to seek them out, like you said, Trina. Like like people aren't talking about it. It's like I had to seek them out. The only thing I ever saw was like Otis from the Andy Griffith Show. That's what I saw. What I knew of an alcoholic was Otis on TV, or the alcoholic in the neighborhood, or your uncle or whatever, that kind of deal, right? That's all I knew. So who was telling us what an alcoholic was? Well, your aunt or your parents, somebody angry was typically telling you what an alcoholic is. I'll tell you what a drug is. He's a drug. Blah, blah, blah. And
Right.
they would tell you what an alcoholic is or a drug addict is based on anger and frustration, but not based on medical knowledge. It was just anger, emotion.
Yeah.
And so I'll answer your wokeness thing, because they're out there, by the way. They have infiltrated.
They're just not very loud.
Oh, they're loud in this way. And I'll tell you, they're loud and going like, words hurt, words are meaningful. And I get you. Yeah, you're right. Words hurt, words are meaningful. But you know what? When you get to the point where some of us have gotten to before we hit that room, there's a lot of other words that were hurtful and meaningful, man. And I don't think, I'm sorry, man. If you're not getting clean and sober, or, there you go. There's a word right there. I said clean. Oh, that's bad. Why clean? Clean is and I get it. Like, if the word clean offends you, you're probably not one of us. I'll tell you why the word clean offends you. Because you're probably a therapist. You're probably somebody that's never experienced this. Because the word clean doesn't offend us, man. You call me clean or dirty, that it may offend some people. But like Trinity said, there's always a small population that changes all the rules, right? You baby-proof the whole world because of like that 5 people that got offended, right? The word clean or dirty doesn't offend us. Calling me an addict doesn't offend me. I just choose not to call myself an addict sometimes, and sometimes I do. It depends on who I'm talking with. It's like I don't choose to call myself a wetback either. You know what I mean? But if you called me it, then I got a problem with it. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So well, I'm with a bunch of people that have had my experiences, and we call each other addicts. That doesn't offend us.
So Marissa chimed in and said, in the age of social media, recovering out loud is necessary. Exposing someone to shows like this, when they may not have anyone else telling them things like this, can and does save lives. Right. It might just initially lead them to research the good, but that's a great start instead of isolating and using.
Right. Exactly.
I 100% agree, because in this age that we're living in now, it's imperative and it's very vital and important that we have an outlet, because growing up, I couldn't. As a man, there are certain things that you don't see a man cry. You don't see a man do this. You can't see a man, showing emotions and things like that of that caliber. But 2022, yes, you can. We hurt.
Yeah. Yes,
we feel pain.
Yes, you can. And so that's the thing. So like, imagine like non-men, exactly from your point, Shaw. Imagine non-men saying what a man. Yeah, there's non-men out there. You never heard of a non-man? A woman's a non-man.
Wouldn't that be a woman then?
A they is a non-man.
Oh, wait a minute.
No,
Are you
there's all
into
different
the
variations.
whole?
There's different variations. So I'm just saying a non-man should not tell a
Okay.
man how to feel, right? Or what? And so I get it. Like I don't want to be told how I'm thinking or how I'm feeling. I can speak for myself. And guess what? I don't speak for all men. I don't speak for all Latinos. I don't speak for all men. I don't speak for all people in recovery. I don't speak for all people in addiction. And by the way, I don't even call it recovery. I call it remission. Remission.
Right.
So I love it because I had these woke people come up, right? These woke people. I went to this one meeting, Trinity, this one political type meeting. And they were like, we're going to start changing the way. Instead of saying, hi, my name's Louis and I'm an alcoholic or addict or whatever, right? They said, now you're going to say, hi, my name's Louis and I'm a person in long-term recovery. And what that means to me is that I haven't used drugs or alcohol since blah, 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 right? This little light. And they're all, yes, we should all start doing that. We should all start saying, I'm a person in long-term recovery, blah, blah. And I said, I ain't going to do that. They said, Louis, we need your support, blah, blah, blah. The old timers like you need to be more supportive. I said, I would. But you're saying you don't want to say addict because addict's a bad word because you're not your disease, right? Because because you don't say you're a cancer. You say you have cancer. I say, yeah. But you do say diabetic. You don't say a person who has diabetes. You say diabetic. Mm-hmm. So it's not unusual for you to use a word of what you're suffering within the word. So let's not don't compare it to cancer because that's different. Because we don't call you a cancer, but we do call you a diabetic. And I don't see a bunch of diabetics going out there going, oh my God, you call me a diabetic. It's so offensive. Don't call me. I'm a person with diabetes. I'm not a diabetic. So, and I said, in the second part of the problem is this. You said recovery. I got 30 damn years. I'm not in recovery. I'm in remission. If you believe it's a disease, and I know it's a disease, do we go to a person? Oh, you used cancer. So do we go to a person with cancer and say, oh, you're in recovery? No, you say they're a survivor. You say it's in remission. So if you're going to believe it's a disease, which I know it's a disease too, and you think you're all woke with your little words of saying, I'm not an addict, I'm a person in long-term recovery. No, you're a person in remission, like I'm a person in remission, and I'm a survivor. That means if I lapse or relapse, if I use again, or if you out there uses again, that means you could be just as victorious as you were the first time. You don't lose your days. You don't lose all your time. You're not a piece of junk because you went and relapsed. No, you didn't do any of that. Your remission is now active. You go get the treatment to get back into remission. You could be a survivor again. We rally around behind you and it says, Louis strong, Delgado strong, whatever, Trinity strong, whatever, and you get back to being confident. But no, instead, that same little woke crowd will blame some other external things for your relapse or use, not get it, and not be supportive in that same personal way. So yes, they have infiltrated Trinity, but not in the same supportive way they should, because they're not understanding it as a medical thing.
Right.
They're coming from the therapist. All those therapists out there, and therapists, don't get mad at me because I'm in your class. So you can't come. Everybody that I make fun of and I jog with here, by the way, I am one too, so back off.
Right.
Okay.
You fit in all categories.
I fit. I only mess with the street I'm in, Shaw. I only mess with my street. You know what I mean? I know nothing about the other lane. I know about my lane. But what I'm saying is, it's all the therapists who are like, oh no, you should say this because it would make you feel better, and you're putting yourself down. No, we're not. You know what's putting us down? When you lose your wife, your husband, your kids, you go to jail, you're on probation, you can't get through probation because you keep relapsing. And every time you lapse or relapse, even if it's a lapse, not a relapse, even if it's just a lapse, meaning you're not back independence, you just used once, you still violate probation and go to jail. None of that is medical in nature.
Right.
None of our world that treats us is in medical in nature. It's all behavioral. It's all attitude. Everybody out there thinks that they're a doctor. Everybody out there thinks they know what addiction is. Everybody out there thinks they know what alcoholism is. And so they look at their family member or friend or whatever, and they judge. And the whole time you don't think you're doing it. But that's exactly what you're doing. Now, I don't fault you because you don't know what you don't know. But then when it comes to the Connor Paulo Castros of the world, and they're doing it a certain type of way and it's successful for them, and when you judge them and then therefore they go out and die because they tried it your way and then they end up dying, then yeah, someone like me is going to pop off on the radio and says, it's all your fault. Your fault right there. You that's listening right now that did that to somebody, you that's watching right now that did that to somebody, just back off and let us professionals do what we do. That's what we're supposed to do. That's our job, right?
Right.
That's like me. That's like Trinity, me telling you what to do like you go, hey, Louis, I think something's wrong with my brakes. And I go, hey, Trinity, let me check out your brakes. I got you, man. And I sit there and I go tinker with my tools on your brakes. But I don't know what I'm doing, Trinity. So then you go down the road and you try to put your brakes on and your brakes don't work and you run into a wall. And I'm like,
well, you know what?
Should have went to somebody who was an expert in brakes rather than letting your neighbor, like I used to. I used to let my neighbor do my brakes, and every time you would do my brakes, it would squeal,
wow.
And they'd be like, "Damn it! Why the hell did I go cheap and let my neighbor do the brakes?"
Well, I gotta be honest. I've done my own brakes, but I get your point. What it reminds me of those? You ever seen those pictures that everybody's posting around all the time, where it says like entrepreneurship? Everybody thinks it looks like this, like a straight line from start to finish. And they said it looks more like this. It's like a scribble line, you know. I think that's what people don't realize is for some people, I'm sure recovery is linear. It goes, hey man, like I haven't. I think I might have met one, and I can't think of any. I'm just going to assume because I don't believe in universals. I don't remember meeting anybody who started and went to their first like rehab or whatever and said, I'm not going to do this, and that was it. 34. I don't know if I've ever met anybody. I'm sure I have. But for most people I've met, they've had at least one lapse or relapse.
Yeah, right.
Like Like that's just what it looks like sometimes
Right.
for certain people. There are people out there who might have there's people out there who white knuckled it, who didn't go to anybody and just said, I'm gonna stop.
Nothing.
Hey, good for you.
I didn't do anything.
Yeah, and good for those people, but not everybody does that.
2 years, those first year and a half, bro, I didn't do nothing.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, that first year and a half, still went to the bar, still went to the club, still hung around with people. I did the relocation. You know, I don't suggest it, but that's what I did. I went from El Paso to LA. I did it in Hollywood, California at 19 years old, knowing nothing, nobody did nothing.
Yeah.
You know what it's like to go to the Whiskey a Go-Go and go hang out in the clubs and all that stuff as a 19-year-old guy with a pocket full of money and a head full of nonsense and not get high?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the problem.
That was so hard, bro. It was so hard.
Yeah, man.
But it's just stubbornness. It's just pure stubbornness sometimes. But you know what? You got people out there saying, oh, they got to want it. You got to want it. And so when you're in that first week of getting better, they want to hear you say you'll never use it again. It's like, yo, back off, man. For my first 10 years, I said I'm going to get high on my 10th year anniversary. That my plan was 10 years. That was my plan, man. But the point is that I don't have to want it for you, and I don't have to want it now. I got to want it to keep it later. But at the beginning, you could be forced into it. Yeah. You could be forced by cops. You could be forced by probation. You could be forced by incarceration. You could be forced by your job. You could be forced by a lot of different things. And that can work for short stints. And then your stubbornness helps you acknowledge it and do the right thing. And then hopefully you're seeing a professional within that time period. Hopefully you build up your support system at these meetings or those meetings or that church or that thing. And then hopefully as time goes on, then you want to do it for you.
Well, and not only
because
that,
that's where you're going to get the long-term good feelings and good recovery. I guarantee that part of it.
Well, and not to harp on semantics, right? But just as a side note, I've met, I don't know, a lot of people in recovery at this point in my life. And I have yet to meet a single one who wanted addiction. So this idea that you got to want it, I have never met any of them that are like, nah, I'm good, man. This is exactly what I had planned for me. No, none of them really want that. So this idea that they don't want to get better is complete nonsense. They do. Their brain is just telling them, hey, don't listen to that other part of the brain. You need this more. And so that's like, that's like telling somebody you got to want to get rid of cancer.
Right.
I've never met anybody that's like, nah, give me two more.
Yeah.
No, this idea that they don't want it is just nonsense.
You bring up a great point, Trini, because a lot of people do think that and they say that. Look, like you said, if you have to want something to get it, then how did they get addicted?
Yeah.
They didn't want addiction, yet they got it. So
exactly
what they want is they want to be able to escape just like many of you do. They want to be able to just have a few beers or have a little bit of this or that, just like you do. They want to be able to use something, self-medicate a little bit, which we'll talk about next week, just like you do. You think they want the cascade of spiraling downward and problem, and you think that woman who was smoking so much crack that she left her baby in the car while she went into the dope house to go do crack, you think she wanted to leave her kid alone in the car to go smoke crack? No, man. That was the best thinking she had at that moment so that she can meet the goal that she absolutely felt like she needed to meet, which was, I need to go get that hit right now. That's where she was, man. That's where she was. And you think that is not what that woman wanted to do?
No.
That's not. And there's a lot of young men that are your age, Trinity, and Shaw's age today that come from that generation of woman that did that. And there was a lot of women in those 80s, man, that were smoking that pipe, smoking that rock. And let me tell you something, there's a lot of good kids out there that went through that and watched what their moms went through. And they learned a lot through that experience. And I feel for you, man. I feel that you went through that. But you made it out, man. Look where you're at. You made it. You're living today. And I can only hope that you took whatever lessons you went through that experience. And hopefully when you have children of your own, or you had children of your own, I don't know if you have or had them, but hopefully you could just be a different role model in the experience. And so, and it goes to that point, Trinity, it says the bad father that never went to any of your games, yet you go to all your kids' games. And you say, well, it's because my dad never went to my games, so I know how important it is. But that same bad father never went to your games. There's a kid that that because his father did it, well, you know, what do you call it? Oh my God, I lost my place. So Trini, help me out here because I've lost my train of thought.
I'm assuming what you're getting at is it doesn't matter. Like you are what you are either because or in spite of your past.
So that's what I was saying. So the guy that their dad went to every single one of their games, and he mimics that, says, I do it because my dad did it. My dad came to all my games. It felt good, so I go to all my kids' games. In other words, I had some. You know where I'm at right now? You know, I'm getting distracted
because you're in Boca.
I'm in a hotel, and everybody's showing up.
Oh, they're all there now. Nice.
I'm in a hotel. You know, I ran away from. I'm helping our daughter move out of the FAU for the semester. You know, so she's coming home for the summer because they don't stay away long. Training, they always come back.
Don't tell me that. I got one getting ready to leave in like a couple of weeks. So
well, no, I mean, you know, then she'll come back here in the fall. But the point is, we had to just like we lugged her out down here, we moved her out here. Now we got to move her back home for the summer. So
right on.
So that's why I got a bed behind me. I know, and it looks funny. I never do a show with a bed behind. Look at the bed.
All you got to do is just lean back.
There you go.
Yeah,
as soon as he's done,
just chill. Man. No, man, I'm going back to this is for them. I'm leaving. Dana and I will go back home, man. I'm going back to NSB.
Because of my years of going to college, and I learned how to pack light. I only take what's necessary because I knew if I was going home during the wintertime, I knew I needed a coat. That's all I needed was a coat. I already got some clothes, and I just pack on my clothes and just wear them. And then when I get here, find some hang it up and call it the day. Wash and recycle. And you got to know how to trick the washing machine to get the free wash and the free dry.
Oh, amen to that, man. Amen to that, man. But that's why I got distracted, man. So I feel for you, man. I'm not used to people asking me for something while I'm on the ears. I had to give a key.
No worries.
You didn't see me give a key, but I gave a key.
Yeah, it's like magic. It's television and radio magic.
Well, because there was messaging me and it shows up on my screen at the same time. I guess something important was going on.
Right.
Anyway, I was on a rant anyway, but you know what I meant. So if your father was a bad father, you could be a good father because you say I don't want to be like my dad. And if your dad was a good father, you copy your father because you said I had a good father, so therefore I mimic my father. Same end result. The end result is you could still be a good dad. Don't blame your dad for you being a bad dad. Don't blame your dad for being a good dad. Because you making that choice. Look, we need to start patting ourselves on the back.
Right.
Here's one thing it's easy to do. It's easy to say, thank God. Thank God, or thank my parents and all that. And all that is true. But also, the most important person to thank is you. You. Because if you didn't do it, God can't do it without you. Parents can't do it without you. Well, you got to put the work in.
I'm hearing the get off air music.
I'm hearing.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Music too. So
Yeah.
Who's coming on after us?
You got the sideshow coming up next. All Good Entertainment getting ready to show up and show out. They in the building. They looking sharp as a tack. So you get ready for some musical.
Let me see them. I want to see somebody. Yeah, I want to see somebody.
They want to see. They want to see somebody.
Yo, get on there. Hey, what's up, man? How you doing? Oh, look at that.
There you go. He always looks fly. Look at that.
Don't he know he's
All Good Brothers? That's the All Good Brothers right there, man. All Good Entertainment. So stay tuned on WOKB after this show, and you'll, fixing to learn something today.
You're gonna learn today.
You're gonna learn today. All right, Dharma guy. Final words.
Yeah, I would just say, nobody really benefits from judging their journey. Nobody does. You don't benefit. They don't benefit. So try to just love them where they're at, man.
Right. Exactly. My final words are this. Look, man, there are multiple pathways to recovery. You can be faith-based. It could be medication-assisted treatment through some medical and treatment. It could be a 12-step program. It could be grin and bear it, Johnny Cash method. The point is that
I've been everywhere, man.
If you're using today and it's not working, that's the real kicker. That's the problem, right? We just know whatever you're using today, that's probably not working. So anything outside of that is better than where you're at right now. Give somebody a call like us, 833-NOW-MATTERS. You can call 833-NOW-MATTERS. You can find me at The Dope Doctor, find the Dharma Guy at The Dharma Guy. Give us a call, nowmattersmore.org. Other than that, we'll see you next Monday here, same time, same channel, doing the same old thing. We'll be talking about, what did I say we're going to talk about next week?
Self-medicating.
Self-medication.
Self-medicating. All right, adios, amigos. It's time for a taco. Goodbye.
Peace.